Rome had dozens of mad emperors. Caligula, Nero, Commodus. But there was one so disturbing, so shocking, so completely beyond anything Rome had ever seen, that after his death, the Senate ordered every statue smashed, every coin melted, every record destroyed. His name was erased from history, and Rome pretended he never existed. Rome, 218 AD. A 14-year-old boy rode into the most powerful city in the world. He was dressed not as a Roman emperor, but as a priest, a high priest of a foreign sun god. He wore robes of silk and gold. His face was painted, his eyes lined with kohl. And the Roman Senate, the most powerful governing body in the ancient world, watched in silence. This boy would rule Rome for 4 years. In those 4 years, he would shock a civilization that had seen everything. He would overturn 2 centuries of religious tradition. He would humiliate the Senate in ways that historians still struggle to describe. He would throw the empire into chaos. And when his own soldiers finally killed him, dragging his body through the streets and throwing it into the Tiber, Rome did something it almost never did. It tried to erase him entirely. His name was Elagabalus. And this is the story Rome spent 1500 years trying to forget. But to understand what made Elagabalus so uniquely shocking, even by Rome's standards, you must first understand how a 14-year-old Syrian priest ended up on the throne of the most powerful empire in the world. Elagabalus was born around 203 AD in Emesa, a city in what is now modern Syria. His real name was Varius Avitus Bassianus. From birth, he served as the high priest of the sun god Elagabal, a deity worshipped not as a human figure, but as a large, conical black stone, believed to be a meteorite, fallen from the sky, the physical presence of the god on earth. His family had powerful connections. His grandmother, Julia Maesa, was the sister of the wife of the Emperor Septimius Severus. And when the Emperor Caracalla was assassinated in 217 AD, Julia Maesa saw an opportunity. She spread a rumor that her grandson, this young Syrian priest, was actually the illegitimate son of Caracalla. The Roman legion stationed in Syria believed it, or chose to believe it, because Caracalla had been generous with the army. And the current emperor, Macrinus, was not. In May 218, the legions declared Elagabalus emperor. He was 14 or 15 years old. Within months, Macrinus was dead, and a teenage Syrian priest was emperor of Rome. His grandmother and mother, Julia Maesa and Julia Soaemias, expected to control him, to use him as a puppet. They were wrong. Spectacularly, catastrophically wrong. Because what Elagabalus did the moment he arrived in Rome was not what any emperor before him had done. He did not consolidate power. He did not reward his allies. He did not secure his position. He brought his god with him, and he put that god above Jupiter himself. The first thing Elagabalus did upon entering Rome was transport the sacred black stone of Elagabal from Syria. He had it installed in a new temple on the Palatine Hill, the Elagabalium, built at extraordinary expense, right beside the temple of Jupiter, the supreme god of Rome. And then he announced something that sent shock through the entire Roman establishment. Elagabal, his Syrian sun god, was now supreme, above Jupiter, above all the Roman gods, above everything. The sacred objects of Rome's most ancient religious traditions, the fire of Vesta, the shields of Mars, the Palladium itself, were moved into the new temple, to serve Elagabal, to be subordinate to him. The religious establishment was horrified. The Senate was furious. But it got stranger. Elagabalus married a Vestal virgin, the most sacred women in Rome, women whose virginity was considered essential to the safety of the state. He explained the marriage simply. A sun god should be married to a moon goddess. The Vestal virgins were associated with the moon. Therefore, the marriage. The Roman people were beyond shocked. But the religious provocations were just beginning. Elagabalus announced that his god required a special ceremony. Every morning, he sacrificed animals on an altar on the roof of the Elagabalium, dancing around the altar, in Syrian robes, to the sound of Eastern music, while the Senate was required to watch, standing, in silence, for hours. This was not religion to the Romans. This was humiliation, dressed as worship. But what made Elagabalus truly unique in Roman history was not his religion. It was what he did inside the palace, and inside the city. Because what our historical sources describe goes beyond anything any Roman emperor before or after him ever did. The ancient historian Cassius Dio, who lived through the reign of Elagabalus, recorded what happened inside the Imperial palace. And what he recorded left even hardened Roman senators struggling for words. Elagabalus reportedly hired his court officials not based on military experience, not based on political ability, not based on loyalty or intelligence, but based on physical attributes that ancient historians describe only in the most careful Latin. He staged elaborate banquets, at which no food was ordinary. Flamingo brains, peacock tongues, fish served in enormous quantities, not to be eaten but simply to be present in vast numbers. He reportedly held simulated naval battles, in water, and in wine. Ships floating on Falernian wine in imitation of Homer's wine dark sea. He kept lions and leopards, defanged and declawed, that would wander freely among his dinner guests, who had not been warned they were there. He installed a room in the palace specifically designed for orgies. He reportedly posed as a prostitute in Rome's bars and brothels, wearing a wig, wearing makeup, working the rooms. Cassius Dio records that he would stand in palace doorways dressed in the manner of the women of the street, soliciting from Rome's most powerful men. Whether all of this is literally true is debated by historians. The sources were written by his enemies after his death, when exaggeration served political purposes. But even accounting for bias, the broad picture is consistent. Elagabalus did things in that palace that Rome had no framework for, no category for, no precedent for, and no intention of tolerating. And the parties of Elagabalus were something that ancient Rome, a civilization not known for restraint, described as going beyond all limits, including one party that killed people deliberately as entertainment. The banquets of Elagabalus have gone down in history as among the most extraordinary ever staged. He reportedly served his guests food made entirely of one color, all blue, all green, all gold. He distributed gifts to banquet guests by lottery. But the prizes were not simply valuable. They were designed to humiliate or shock. A lottery ticket might win you 10 camels, or 10 flies, or a dead dog, or a pound of gold, all presented with equal ceremony. He reportedly released enormous quantities of roses and flower petals from the ceiling of his banquet hall. So many petals that guests were buried, unable to move, and, according to our sources, some suffocated, died under the weight of flowers, while Elagabalus watched. Whether this is literal or metaphorical, a symbol of his excess drowning Rome, historians debate. But the image has persisted. He also reportedly conducted a survey of Rome to find every man in the city with an extraordinarily large physical attribute, and assembled them all in one place, for reasons that the ancient historians are very careful to describe only in oblique terms. Rome had seen Caligula. Rome had seen Nero. Rome had seen emperors who killed, who tortured, who burned their city. But Rome had never seen anything quite like this. And Rome, slowly, surely, began to decide it had had enough. Because the end of Elagabalus came not from a political conspiracy, not from a military coup, but from his own grandmother, the woman who had put him on the throne. who decided that the only way to save the dynasty was to destroy the emperor she had created. By 221 AD, Julia Caesar had seen enough. Her grandson was destroying the dynasty she had built. The army was restless. The Senate was furious. The Roman people were scandalized. She made a decision. She had another grandson, Alexander. Quiet, dutiful, Roman in his habits. Everything Elagabalus was not. She convinced Elagabalus to adopt Alexander as his heir, and she began quietly transferring the loyalty of the Praetorian Guard, the soldiers who had made Elagabalus emperor, to Alexander. Elagabalus realized what was happening. He tried to have Alexander killed. The Praetorian Guard refused. They had been won over by Julia Caesar, by promises, by the prospect of a normal emperor. On the 11th of March 222 AD, the Praetorian Guard mutinied. They burst into the rooms where Elagabalus was hiding, with his mother, Julia Soaemias, who had supported every excess, who had encouraged every provocation. Both were killed. Their bodies were dragged through the streets of Rome, mutilated, thrown into the Tiber. Elagabalus was 18 years old. He had been emperor for 4 years, and Rome immediately set about ensuring that future generations would know as little about those 4 years as possible. Because what Rome did after Elagabalus died was something it reserved for only the most despised rulers in its history. And what that process reveals about how Rome constructed its own story is one of the most disturbing things about this entire tale. Damnatio Memoriae. The damnation of memory. Rome's ultimate punishment for its most despised rulers. After the death of Elagabalus, the Senate passed a decree. Every statue of the emperor was to be destroyed. Every coin bearing his image melted down. Every inscription bearing his name chiseled off. Every official record of his reign, where possible, altered or erased. He was not to be remembered. He was not to be spoken of. He was to be unmade. The Elagabalus, his great temple on the Palatine Hill, was rededicated. The sacred black stone was sent back to Syria. The Vestal Virgin he had married was restored to her position. The Senate pretended, as best it could, that the previous 4 years had not happened. But Damnatio Memoriae never truly worked. Because people remembered. The stories were too extraordinary to die. Too scandalous to be buried. Cassius Dio wrote them down. The Historia Augusta preserved them. And 1500 years later, historians are still piecing together the truth from fragments of sources that survived Rome's attempt to destroy them. We do not know how much of what was written about Elagabalus is literally true. His enemies wrote most of it after his death, when exaggeration served their purposes. But we know this. Rome tried to erase him, and failed. Because you cannot truly erase a story this extraordinary. It always finds a way back. Elagabalus ruled Rome for 4 years. He was 18 years old when his own soldiers killed him. He brought a foreign god to Rome and placed it above Jupiter. He married a Vestal Virgin. He hosted banquets that the ancient world struggled to describe. And he was erased. Officially. Completely. Unsuccessfully. Because here we are, 1800 years later, still talking about him. The Senate of Rome could chisel his name off stone. Could melt his face off coins. Could destroy his temple. But it could not destroy the memory of what happened in those 4 years. Some stories are too dark to die. Too strange to stay buried. Too human to be erased. Subscribe to Veil of Europa. Every week, we uncover the history that empires tried to destroy. The erased. The forbidden. The deliberately forgotten. We'll see you in the shadows.